Hey YouTube family, welcome to my channel. I have a ton of holiday inspiration for you, so let's get to crafting. So I purchased this here chalkboard easel from the Dollar Tree, and I taped it off with some painter's tape because I don't trust myself painting and messing it up. And it's just one of these standalone easels with the wood framing. And I have two different color red paints off to the side, and neither one of them are the exact color red shade that I'm looking for. So I'm going to mix them together to create my own shade. And I forgot to mention that this is a Kirkland's inspired DIY, and I'll be inserting a picture next so that you can see the look that I'm going for. So here I go mixing together my precise measurements. Haha. I'm just basically eyeballing everything and just pretty much equal parts of whatever I can get out of both little containers of paint, and then I'm just gonna mix it together and blend it well until I can create my desired shade. So this is the shade I came up with. I think it's that perfect Christmas color red, that Santa Claus hat red. So now I'm just going to slap some of this paint onto this wood frame and get it all painted up and nice and cute, because she's going to be a beaut. And I'm going to continue to paint and then allow it some drying time so we could move on to the next step. So here's a look at what I'm working with now that I've given it dry time and allowed that paint to set up. She's ready to go. And so now we're ready to just move on to the next step, which is to adhere a vinyl decal that I created on my cutting machine using my Cricut. I just made this little cutout that we're going to adhere to the little chalkboards. So now to adhere that vinyl image that I cut out using my Cricut, we're simply just going to reveal the vinyl by separating that transfer sheet and applying it to the little chalkboard. And we're going to just try to get it as centered as we possibly can without pressing it down firmly until we're sure of the placement. So now that we're comfortable with the placement and we pressed it down and went over it with our scraping tool to make sure it's secured, it's time to peel it up and reveal that image. And of course, you know, sometimes it doesn't let you be great on camera. It wants to act up and try to come up, but you know, you digress and you keep moving forward. If it starts to come up on any areas, you just push it right back down and go over it with the scraping tool, because the vinyl is pretty forgiving. And so you just have to move carefully and not be in a rush. Be patient and go slowly, and you should be able to reveal your image with no problem. Slow and steady wins the race, and this is in real time. It's not sped up, and there you have it. We've revealed our transfer, and here we have our little Kirkland's inspired decor sign. And I'm sure you noticed from the clip that I inserted in this video that Kirkland's had their version listed at $42, and we created this one for about $2, including the cost of the paint. And I'm not gonna kid you, I'll be honest, this was my first time making a layered vinyl decal where I used multiple colors of vinyl, so I was a little nervous, but overall I'm pleased with the outcome. So for this next simple project, I picked up one of these here Dollar Tree placemats, and as soon as I saw it, they kind of reminded me of Christmas trees, the pattern, and they kind of gave off bohemian vibes to me as well. And speaking of bohemian vibes, I also found this cute little wall decor sign, and I fell in love with it because it had the little natural beads on the top as well. And I apologize for the glare because it still has the shrink wrap on, so I'm going to take it off so that you won't get that glare anymore. And so immediately I saw these two pieces and I pictured them both together. So I had to pick them up. And this is going to be so simple. It's probably one of my favorite DIYs to date because this comes apart so easily. It actually has clips in the back like a regular picture frame. So I'm just going to remove that insert and trace it out onto the placemat. So after removing that insert from its backing, I'm simply tracing it out onto the placemat using my little chalk writer from the Dollar Tree. And I just simply popped it right out of the frame. As you see here, it was very simple to take out. And after tracing out that little shape, I'm just gonna come in with my scissors and cut it out so that I could adhere it to that little insert, and then we're going to call it a finished product. And it's so simple. This is like my easiest DIY ever and yet my favorite. So now that we got that piece cut out, I'm simply going to be tacking it down to that insert using some regular old Elmer's school glue stick. And I'm just going, this is the last of this little glue stick that I have here, and I'm just going to finish it off. And I'm not even concerned that this little board has glitter on it because it's not going to bother me because of the texture. And so I'm just going to continue to get that. I really was not kidding when I said I was down to the last of that glue stick. I had to go and bust out another one, and I'm just going to cover that entire insert and get it all over that board so that it could be nice and tacky. So now for the instant gratification of it all, it's time to assemble it all together. So we're just going to place that placemat right down onto that insert and tack it down, smooth it out, get it all nice and good to go so that we could insert it back into the frame. And remember I said that it didn't matter about that glitter because of the texture of the placemat. And so now you want to make sure you straighten it out while you still have a little wiggle room and put it right back into the frame. And just like that, after snapping that insert back into the frame, you now have yourself an adorable little wall decor piece. And I am just loving it. And I suppose you could leave it like that, but if you really wanted to take it up a notch, you can throw in some of these little mini bottle brush trees to make it more festive. But I'm more plain and I feel like less is more. And so I'm just going to leave it as is because I'm feeling the bohemian vibes that is giving off. So I can probably rock this all year round, not just for Christmas. So I'm loving it just as is. So that last DIY inspired me to toss in another really simple, quick, and easy DIY. So I have this here candy cane gift bag, and it's a 3D pop-up bag because the candy canes are elevated. And I got this at the Dollar Tree, of course, and it is a double-sided bag, so you could actually get two projects out of this one gift bag. And then I purchased a Dollar Tree photo frame, and it's an 8x10 photo frame to be exact. And we're going to be inserting that gift bag inside this photo frame and calling it a project. And to begin with, we're going to start by removing the contents of the frame. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the shrink wrap, open up that frame, and remove its entire content. Now that we disassembled our frame, we're going to be utilizing that glass insert that's inside the frame. We're going to be using it as a stencil to trace the dimensions for the cutting of our bag. So to begin, I started by cutting up one of the seams on one of the sides of the gift bag, and that's just so that I can get to that bottom square. And I'm just going to simply cut all around the seam and the creases of the bottom of that bag, and that's going to give me easy access to the rest of the bag. And so you're going to continue to cut along that seam and follow that crease all along the bottom of the bag. And you're going to see that as you continue to cut, that bag is going to spread open into two separate portions. And so there you're going to be able to cut down the middle of that seam and you'll be left with two available sides. So it's really hard for the camera to pick up, but remember I said I was going to use that glass insert as a template, so I'm simply tracing around it with my little metallic marker so that I can get the sizing of the bag. So now it's just a matter of cutting along the sides of the lines we created using our glass insert as a template, and we're going to continue to cut all around the entire bag until we get it down to the dimensions we need to fit our frame. Next, you're going to want to give your glass a quick little spray and remove any visual fingerprints you might have left on it. And now that that glass is print free, you can return it back to the frame, and then you're going to add your little gift bag image that you cut out, and you're going to return the remainder of the inside of the frame and that backing and close it all out. After returning the items back in the frame and pressing down on those tabs, I'm ready to flip over my photo frame to reveal my finished project. And the best part about this whole project is that I didn't have to paint the frame. With Dollar Tree is usually hit or miss. I'm usually having to paint their frames, and this time around I feel like I got so lucky to find this white frame that paired really well with the gift bag, and so I'm overall really pleased with the way it turned out. And that completes the super simple decor that we created from a Dollar Tree photo frame and a gift bag that we put together in under 5 minutes and was so simple to do. So from the Dollar Tree, you're going to want to grab one of these wooden crates, and this is the one that the slats are close together. There's no separation in between, if that makes sense. And then you're going to hit it with a coat of paint, color of choice. So then you're going to want to go over the entire crate, possibly 2 times if need be, to ensure that you're giving it full coverage. Alright, so here's what I'm left with after giving it complete coverage and allowing it some dry time. And I did go ahead and paint the inside, which wasn't really necessary, but I did anyway. So then I have some of this here polka dot burlap ribbon and some sheer black ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And I went ahead and I cut off 2 pieces to size. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be overlapping them and doubling them up, if you will. So I'm going to try to fuse that sheer ribbon on top of the burlap ribbon to put on top of the box. And my glue of choice, what I'm going to be adhering it with, is this super glue. So to attach the ribbon, I'm going to add a dollop of glue right on that polka dot on the burlap fabric, and then I'm going to fuse the sheer ribbon right onto that. And I'm using the cap from the super glue so that I don't fuse my fingers onto the burlap. And I'm going to spread it out, and I'm going to add another little dot of glue in the middle and on the end as well. As previously mentioned, I'm adding another generous amount of glue to the middle, and then I'm laying that sheer ribbon down on top of it, pushing it down with the cap to be careful not to glue my fingers. And then I'm going to repeat the same process on the end as well, and then my sheer ribbon will be completely attached and we should be able to move on. Now that my ribbon is attached, I'm going to be adding it onto the box, and I'm going to take it and try to distribute it evenly and wrap it around the bottom and the inside of the box. And this ribbon is wired, so it's pretty easy to manipulate. And the idea is to cover up those little slots that are on the side of the crate. I want to cover those holes. So now I'm going to glue it down. Here's what we got going on after tacking down that ribbon down into the inside of the box. And yeah, maybe my choice of glue wasn't the smartest, especially after gluing my fingers. However, my glue gun is currently on the fritz, so I'm currently awaiting the arrival of a new one in the mail. And so I have this here red and white baker's twine, and I'm doubling it up tip to tip. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap it around horizontally. We already wrapped the burlap ribbon and the sheer ribbon vertically, so now I'm going to go horizontally with the baker's twine and tie a knot on the top. So I was able to get about 3 good wraps around the entire box, and now I'm going to tie it off in a knot. And this is where an extra set of fingers would come in handy, but since it's just me, I'm going to try my best. And so I'm tying it off in a knot, and there you have it. That's all she wrote, and now we're going to move on. Here's what I'm working with now that I tied off that baker's twine. I wrapped it around a few times and knotted it off. And so now I have this piece of greenery that I pulled off of another ornament. It felt like I needed some greenery on it. And it's just a little, like a pick with some berries on it. And of course, I have to get the trusty old super glue out again to glue it on. So this time around, I know better. So I'm just going to take it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to apply the glue right onto the knot and then put the greenery on top of the glue and press it down. So here's what we have so far, and if you haven't already taken a guess, what I'm creating here is a set of mini cookbooks for my tiered tray. And this is a Pinterest inspired version that I'm putting my own spin on. And so what I also did was I cut out some vinyl using my cutting machine, and I cut out the words Baking Spirits Bright with my Cricut. And so instead of just fussing with it and trying to get it all on in one sheet, I'm going to cut them individually and put it on like that, and it'll make for easier fitting. So this idea has been all over Instagram and Pinterest, where I've seen plenty of people do it with pieces of wood and such. And so I decided to put my own spin on it and create my own rendition using all Dollar Tree products. So I'm going to remove the transfer sheet from its backing, and then I'm going to center the word baking to the best of my ability right onto that slat, and I'm putting them more towards the right hand corner. And so once I have it to where I feel that it looks good, then I'm going to press it down and scrape over it with my little Cricut scraping tool and pull up that transfer sheet from the corner to reveal the first image, and then I'm going to follow suit with the other 2 words. Following suit with the next word, I'm simply going to be peeling up that transfer tape off its backing, and I'm going to align the word right underneath the top one. And once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to come in with my little Cricut scraping tool, and I'm going to scrape over it and then peel up that tape. Don't feel like you need to have a cutting machine in order to create this project. Dollar Tree has tons of other options. They have stickers, they have stencils. They also have rub-on transfers now. If you have a neat handwriting, you can write it out. There's tons of options. Now, I also cut out some vinyl candy canes that I was hesitant to put on this decor, but because I already went ahead and cut them out, I'm going to put them on for the sake of the video, but sometimes less is more. I thought of putting it on the top, but because of the placement of the ribbon, that's not an option. So I'm just going to go on ahead and put it in between the wording. All right, so let's get these candy canes on here. Let's remove the transfer tape from the backing. And I think I kind of want them like at a slant diagonally. So I'm going to kind of turn it. So I'm not going to press it down yet until I'm happy with the placement. So I'm going to keep messing with it until I get it to where I want it. And I think that looks good right about there. So now I'm going to press it down. And now we'll come in at a diagonal and pull that transfer tape up, slowly revealing that transfer image. And sometimes it wants to come up together with the transfer tape, but that's okay. You just push it back down and give it another little scrape, and you should be good to go. And there you have it. And this will conclude this project of this set of mini baking decor books. And this can be displayed in a multitude of ways. There's such a versatile little decor piece. It can be set out on a vignette alongside of the rest of your holiday decor, or it can be placed in a tiered tray. There's tons of options for this little mini decor piece. And I'm so happy I was able to create it. And I'm so happy I was able to share it with you. Until next time, my friends, take care of yourself and stay safe.